The Lord took me to Haggai chapter 2. Now I'm going to read 1 through 9 and then start skipping around a little bit. But this is an important setup here. We know this story very well. In the 7th month, on the 21st of the month, the word of the Lord came by Haggai the prophet, saying, Now speak to Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, governor of Judah, and Joshua, the son of Jehozadak, the high priest, and to the remnant of the people, saying, Who is left among you who saw this temple in its former glory? And how do you see it now? That in and of itself can preach for a week. Who among you saw the temple in its former glory, and how do you see it now? Examine your eyesight. Look and see. In comparison with it, is it not in your eyes as nothing? In other words, Haggai is asking, or the Lord is asking, listen, there was a temple that was great. Look at it now and compare how you see it now to how it used to be. Isn't it as nothing? You know, it's good for us to take stock from time to time. It's good for us to look and consider from time to time. Not to long for days of yesteryear and long for how it was in the past. I don't believe that that's wise. But it is good to look at the monuments that the Lord has built in our lives along the journey and to remember the monuments and the faithfulness and the blessing of the Lord in our lives. And this is what's going on here. The prophet is prophesying. He's saying, listen, there once was, there no longer is. What do you think about it? Then he goes on. Yet now be strong, Zerubbabel, says the Lord. And be strong, Joshua, son of Jehozadak, the high priest. And be strong, all you people of the land, says the Lord. And work. For I am with you, says the Lord of hosts. Listen, there it is, laid out plain as day. It once was, it no longer is. What do you think about it? If you want to fix it, you're going to have to work. You're going to have to work. You cannot establish the house of God. You cannot build the temple. You cannot honor me the way unless you're willing to work. You can't. It's a discipleship heart. It's a discipleship mindset. You have to be willing to pick up the hammer. You have to be willing to pick up the chisel. And you have to work to build what it is you want to see in your life. It doesn't just come by happenstance. God is not going to supernaturally come down and sprinkle fairy pixie dust on you. And all of a sudden, everything's going to work out magically beautiful. That's not the way it happens. There's work involved. There's a heart that's involved. See, David had to act wisely. Zerubbabel had to be willing, and the people had to be willing to actually work. Verse 6. Verse 5. According to the word that I have covenanted with you when you came out of Egypt, so my spirit remains among you. Do not fear. My spirit remains among you. Do not fear. Even though the temple has been destroyed, my spirit has not left you. Even though what you built in the past no longer is erected to the beauty and the grandeur that it once was, know now this day that I have not left you, and I am still with you, so do not fear. Pick up the hammer, build it again, and see if I will not visit you again. And see if the former glory, or the present glory, will be greater than the former. Verse 6. For thus says the Lord of hosts, once more I will shake the heavens and the earth and the sea and the dry land. I will shake all nations, and they shall come to the desire of all nations, and I will fill this temple with glory, says the Lord of hosts. The silver is mine, the gold is mine, says the Lord of hosts. The glory of this latter temple shall be greater than the former, says the Lord. And this place I will give you peace, says the Lord of hosts. Now, do you get what God is saying here? I mean, this is incredible insight into how the process can work. Now, I'm not saying it always works every way this time, but I believe supernaturally that this is a prophetic word for us for this time and for this season. Listen, there once was that no longer is. What do you think about it? We're at the very last Sunday of the year. This is the end. This is the traditional time when we as human beings in our finite minds take stock of what we do and plan and have goals for the next year. Now, every day is new with the Lord. So it doesn't matter if you miss it today or not. But for us, in this season and this time, this is the traditional time where we measure what happened last year and we plan for next year. Now, I'm not in much to all the resolutions, and I'm not saying make resolutions, but I'm saying it is good to consider tomorrow, consider in light of today. You have to think about where it is you want to be and how you want to get there. The first clue that the Lord tells us here in this process, if we apply this, is first of all, you have to be willing to work. And this is the place, first and foremost, where I think many of us fail. It's our willingness to work. Work implies sweat, blood, tears, calluses, sore backs, sprained muscles. Can't sprain a muscle, sorry. Strained muscles. This is what it implies. Are you willing to work? And then once we decide if we're willing to work, then we've got to consider the fear. Okay, so you've made the decision to work, which is a monumental decision to make. And I ask you today, are you willing to work? Now see, we say yes. All of us instinctively, and especially in a setting like this, we say yes. But seriously consider your willingness to work for what you think is yours. To work for the inheritance. To work for the blessing. I'm not saying it only comes by our good works and things like that. You understand what I mean. There is a discipled life, a disciplined life that is required to build the presence of the Lord. See, the temple represented the manifest presence of the Lord. It was the place where the Lord dwelt. If you want to have the Lord in your life, everywhere you go, the manifest presence of God, the Shekinah glory of God rest over you and change you. The countenance, we'll talk about how important countenance is in a minute when the glory comes. If you want to have that kind of life, you know, Moses had to put a veil over his face because he understood what it was to be face to face with the Lord. Moses was willing to work. Moses was willing to work. Now, he needed his arm twisted a little bit. But once he did, and once he got the help that he needed, the Lord brought help to him. He was willing to labor and get the job done. And he had a revelation of God that no one else had. He had an understanding of God that no one else had. And this revelation and this understanding fueled his life. And this revelation and understanding of God not only fueled his life, but established and freed an entire nation and brought them into the place that God had promised them hundreds and hundreds of years before. Destiny cannot be outlived by time. Your destiny cannot be outlived by time. It is never too late to walk in your destiny. All you have to do is do what the Lord is telling through Haggai. Listen, it once was, no longer is. What are you going to do about it? It once was, it no longer is. What are you going to do about it? It once was, it no longer is. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to cry over spilt milk? Are you going to sulk in your tears? Are you going to be frustrated and say, my dream is gone, my passion has left me, my destiny's been abandoned, the pain is too great, the sorrow is too deep, I can't do it? It once was, it no longer is. What are you going to do about it? First thing the Lord asked, let me help you with what you need to do about it. He gives some hints here. Be willing to work.